Teresa and I'm a yoga teacher. My intention is to share with you some yoga wisdom from my teachers and my own practice that I hope will help you with a more balanced and strong practice as a yogi on your mat and off the mat as a person. We'll begin today with some warm-up because whenever I practice yoga, I like to move the body first before I go into any movement that will stretch out the body in an elongated way. And so we'll begin with a few props. So the props I have today are a blanket, a mat, a strap, and a couple of blocks. It's good to protect your body. And so I put a blanket out and a mat to protect my knees. The mat actually gives me a little traction. And I'm going to start with a variation on table. Table takes the knees as wide as hips. The hands are placed in front of you. Middle finger straight ahead. Spread those fingers wide. Make sure that the wrists are a little forward of the shoulders. And then look between the legs so that you can see the feet. If they're too close, just bring them out away from each other. Bring the elbows away from you, then back and around toward you, and then straighten the arms. That will bring the inner elbows forward. From there, we're going to relax through the heart and do a variation of cow. Relax through the abdomen and start to spread the sitting bones. So instead of being tucked up tight, I'm relaxing down toward the floor. Then I'll bend my knees, bring my chest toward my thighs, and round the back just a little. The traditional cat looks like this. This one is a little gentler on the wrists. And then as I inhale, I come forward, exhale, back. Release the tuck of the tailbone so you start to warm up the spine. Sometimes teachers teach the head really lifted, the abdomen really low, but I think of lengthening, shoulders back, crown of the head forward, and then relaxing the heart and the abdomen. If you want to do one really big cat, keep the neck long, cervical spine long, press hard on the feet, and then one more into the cow position. So from the front view, see my arms as wide as shoulders, my shoulders back, coming down and coming up. Rounding and releasing. All right. So we'll take the mat or the blanket away. If this was tough on wrists, another variation, you can roll up the edge of the mat to place your hands. Then we'll lay on the back. Make sure you scoot down your mat so you have space for your head. If you have your hair, make sure that it's tucked out of the way so it doesn't interfere with your neck. And then in order to accommodate for any medial rotation of the shoulders, we'll take prep for bridge. Elbows in toward the side. You'll lift the chest slightly and press the shoulder blades on the back of the body. When you do that, you'll feel your chest open and broad and the shoulders broad. Then you can bring your hands down by the side and turn the wrists. My feet are going to be not tucked too far under, but not pressed out too far, so that the ankle is in line with the front of the knee. So from there, we might do a little lifting into bridge and lowering one vertebra at a time. Make sure that the knees don't splay out. So you're active, reaching the knees opposite, reaching the head away, and then lowering down. So again, setting the upper back, hands come down, wrists turn, so that inner elbow is still pointing up. And then this time, keeping that low back lifted slightly. We'll reach a foot out toward the floor, lift it toward the ceiling. This is external rotation and internal rotation. You want somewhere in the middle, reaching the toes back toward you, not to the ceiling, as you lower down toward the floor. Then bend the knee and straighten, lowering down toward the floor, reaching through the heel, feeling long through the whole body. Then maybe reaching up straight, again checking to make sure you don't have internal or external rotation. Reaching through the heel, maybe halfway down, almost to the floor, and then release it. Then you'll do the other side. It might be nicer to have the mat underneath your heel. If that doesn't feel right to you, you can adjust. So I'll adjust. Turn at the wrists. This time we're still setting the feet so that they're hips distance, and then the other leg lifts up and over and down. You might try one with the bent knee, but try not to keep the knee bent. You really want to stretch through the hamstrings here, lowering down. Tight hamstrings can affect your back and your posture. Lowering down, and then lift up, and lowering down. Last one on this side. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we'll do that halfway down, and then almost to the floor, and then letting go. And then bring that foot back. We'll hug the knees in, a little rolling on the side, sometimes lengthens out through the back. Might even cross the ankles. Pulling on the outside of the shins, broadens through that collarbone again. Then roll over to one side. Let your lower hand be a pillow and the upper hand like a stake. Roll toward the floor as you come up to seated. From there, we'll come back to that table position only for a moment. So set your hands again, middle finger straight ahead. Press hard on thumb and pointer finger. As you turn toes under, step one foot back, then the other, and press back into downward dog. In downward dog, you stretch out through the sitting bones, groin goes deep, head reaches out toward the floor. And then come down on knees, walk hands back, step one foot. On the outer side of the hands is a little easier. Step the feet in, and then roll up the spine, head comes last, until you come to standing. Now you should be nice and warmed up. From there, we'll look at stance. So everybody comes in all different sizes and shapes, and there's natural curves of your spine. I have a tendency of standing like this, and everybody has their own way of standing. In yoga, the standing position that's at the core of every pose is Tadasana. So in Tadasana, you have your big toes toward one another, the edges of your feet parallel to the edge of their mat. So today I have the long edge of my mat, so the short edge is what my outer edge of my feet are parallel. From there, I'm going to look at the hips and how they relate to the feet. So grab a block and have a strap nearby. The block is going to go between the thighs. The front of the block is back further than the back, so that you have a bias to the back. So from there, you're going to push the hips in, and that will move the block back. And then if you move that block forward, it's going to bring your pelvis forward, your shoulders round. So you really want to push that block back. And then there's a slight tuck of the tailbone, which really helps you grip onto that block, have really strong legs. So that's showing you the position of the pelvis. So we'll practice that again as part of a warm-up. We're bringing the inner groin deep as we spread the sitting bones wide and then lifting up. And again, bringing that groin in deep and then bringing the legs back up. So you're thinking thighs back and shins forward, inner groin deep, and then up again. So that's going to set the foundation of your hips. Then your shoulders, we're going to draw the shoulders up, back, and down. Shoulder rolls. A few of those really help get the blood going in the shoulders, and it trains your body to bring the shoulders back. So the breath is inhale and exhale. And then in yoga, we always do front, back, left and right. So we'll do it the other way, drawing the shoulders up and in, internal rotation, a few. And then we always head the direction we want to go and then finish with the direction we want to go. So it's shoulders up, back, and down. Oh, it feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. Then you can walk your feet out. And to look at that shoulder again, we'll take a belt. Now this belt, we're lucky we have a 10-foot belt. So if you like this exercise, when you buy a belt, make sure you buy at least a 10-foot belt or longer. You can also hook two belts together. The key here to begin is to get the lengths of your belt even. I've just taken it around the back of my shoulders, and then I'll grab the belt in one hand. I'm going to move my hand up and around and out of the belt, take the belt again, and then do that on the other side, out and around. Then walk the hands back on the strap. Be careful you don't hit yourself with the buckle. All you got to do is bring it over the shoulder. Now the belt will sag in the back and get a little twisted, but you can just lift that belt up and then slide your fingers around. Once you get to the shoulders, you can give it a shake, and that'll straighten it out. A little tucking here and there, and then the straps themselves you're going to cross at the back. Now look at my thumb and finger here. I'm not grabbing it, I'm not twisting it around, I'm just lightly between the thumb and the finger. I'm going to slide it down so that my hands are by the side of my hips. Now I can release this and I can take it again, sliding down. So I'm gently, gently giving some resistance to my body. So if you think about this analogy, if you're a sunflower in the field, you're not being pulled down to the floor, you're lifting up as if you're reaching for the sun. And the belt is giving you just a little bit of resistance or a connection so that you can draw those shoulder blades flat on the back. So make sure you're not up in here because that's going toward a medial rotation, that you're really lifting and extending out away from that strap. Ideally, the ear, the shoulder, the hip, the knee, and the ankle are all in one line. So when you take that belt off and that strap is out of the way and the block, you still have that imprint of the inner groin deep and the shoulder blades flat on the back and the collarbone long. So we'll go back now to the feet. The big toes don't have to touch, especially if you have pain in the low back. The toes are going to spread wide. At the bottom of your foot, you have the ball mount of big toe, pinky toe, front of the heel, back of the heel, and both sides of the heel. These are the four corners of the feet. So we bring that foot down, and we look at the outer edges of the feet, again, parallel to the outer edges of your mat. You'll take the weight back at heels, lift the toes, and then spread the toes wide, lift the heels, and then try to find the medium between front and back. Then concentrate on the pinky toes. You're going to take the inner groin deep, slide down, shins forward, shins out and around. It's pressing on the big toe. If you slide your hands back up, you're lifting your kneecaps, not locking back, but lifting those kneecaps. Active quads, again, inner groin deep. Slight tuck of the tailbone, and then sliding up the ribs. Taking lower ribs to the upper ribs, outer armpit, then rolls to the inner armpit. Take the lower sternum to the upper sternum. It's as if you're pressing in and up, the middle of the back going toward the midline, and the middle of the sternum going toward the midline. Pressing in and up, rather than just out or just back. Lengthening, elongating through the chest. Then some people tend to thrust forward, some people come back. You've seen it, right, with texting and all of that. So the ideal is somewhere in between, with a slight lift of the chin and a smile on the face. Still feeling that inner groin deep. Still feeling the thighs going back, sit bones spreading wide, shins forward, big toe, pinky toe, draw the knees up, pinky toe deep in the groin. Again, lifting up the ribs, outer armpit to inner armpit, collarbone, lower sternum to upper sternum. Lifting side ribs. You're creating a triangle between your navel and your shoulders. From the neck out to the shoulder blades. Gives an external rotation of the arms, and then turning of the wrists to let the fingers point to the sides of the body. You'll feel strong through the legs, you'll feel the weight on heels, all four corners of the feet. Big toe ball mount, pinky toe, inner heel and outer heel. If you tend to have flat feet, press hard on that ball mount of the pinky toe. This will help lift those arches. So that's Tadasana. Tadasana can be used inside of the other poses. This is Teresa Height Murray. I hope this has been helpful. Namaste.